Thank you so much for joining me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. This is episode number 194. This past weekend, I was with a group of people, and a teenager said to me, "Without noise, I'm crazy." I was describing to this young person how at my house, I don't have a television set, and I don't turn on the radio, and I don't have something jammed into my ears. I really love peace and quiet. And they said, "How can you stand it? How can you stand it?" I explained when I was a child, when you went to the grocery store, there was no music. When you got into an elevator, it was silent. Frankly, even in the 80s, when I was in nursing school, when you got into an elevator, it was dead silent. In big fancy buildings, too. The halls of a hospital are known for being reasonably quiet, especially at night. And so for me, much of my life growing up in a very chaotic, loud, crazy, noisy, wild place, when I could find quiet, I was ecstatic. I still love quiet. When my kids were young, we would play Christian radio sometimes, but most of the time we played LPs. I had full control over what we listened to, and we did not listen to it all day long. We did not need noise. When I met my former husband, he would frequently have the television going in the living room and a radio going in the kitchen or even in the bedroom. So you went to the bathroom, you could hear the radio. There was just noise everywhere. And I asked him, I said, "How can you stand it? I mean, how can you think?" And he said to me, "I can't think when it's quiet." I think that in today's world, when people constantly have something electronic going in their hands and they have the TV going and they just have all kinds of racket perpetually. You go to Walmart, there's music playing. You go to the mall, there's music playing. You go to any grocery store, there's music playing. You go anywhere, there's noise. I mean, it is challenging to just find a place that is quiet. So this kid was dead serious. He was not joking around when he said, "When it's quiet, I'm crazy." Let's talk about that. If you cannot ever handle being quiet, to the extent that you even have earbuds in when you're going to sleep and you have all this noise going on, you need to look at that. Because it's probably that you are not comfortable with your own thoughts. At night, that you do not know how to quiet your own thoughts. And when you're going through the day, you're having a challenge getting a hold of your own thoughts because all this other stuff is giving input to your mind. So it interferes with clarity of thought. It can interfere with creativity. It can interfere with psychological peace. And it can certainly interfere with spiritual peace. It's a fascinating thing. God makes this statement to us as those who follow him: "Be still and know that I am God." I wonder if we're never still, if we can actually know God much at all. Just telling you the truth. So it is a big thing that we constantly have to have noise and we constantly have to have input, and we're having all these things bombard us. And you know, when a city is being bombarded by bombs or by enemy fire, that's not a good thing. And when our children or we ourselves are perpetually being bombarded, it's not really a good thing. Even if it is a good message, it's not a good thing. But when it's a bad message, then it's twice as bad. So, how do you nurture a quiet spirit in your child? One, turn off the TV set, take the electronics out of her hand. And you can expect a lot of negative response initially. Because if this child's never experienced much peace and quiet, they can't handle it. This kid's not joking when he said to me, "When it's quiet, I go crazy." Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen initially. And if you don't have children yet, I'm begging you, I'm pleading with you, I am just interceding on your child's behalf. Don't start them off that way. Give them big blocks of peace and quiet as a baby. The major thing they need to hear is your voice. That's always what children want to hear anyway. So I'm begging you, if you're not there yet, or if you have a baby, this is your plan. From the very beginning, there is going to be peace and quiet in my child's world, and I'm going to provide this. All right. But you have an older child and they haven't experienced it yet, and they're not used to it, and you're going to make this adjustment. You can expect a certain amount of pushback in the beginning because it is not going to feel good to them, and it is going to be odd, and it might make them a little crazy initially because suddenly this child actually has to think and deal with their own thoughts and deal with their own feelings and deal with what's happening inside of themselves. And that internal process of dealing with oneself really is a lot. It's not an easy thing. It's often not even a comfortable thing. But the point is, you're facilitating the atmosphere where this can happen. So it's a very, very positive thing. So I'm begging you, nurture that quiet in your child. And that means you have to provide that. So I'm going to give you a suggestion. Instead of having a family movie night, and some people literally sit in front of the TV every single night, where the mom and dad are in one room watching one television with one movie on, and the kids are in their bedroom watching another movie on another TV, or three kids are in three different rooms with three different things on. This is horrible, mind you, because there's nobody being together. So bring the entire family together in one place and say, we're just going to be together. This also is not a comfortable endeavor when you aren't accustomed to it. I think prior to COVID, there was enough of this going on, but since COVID, or here we are somewhat post COVID, or at least the big scary part of it, uh, people are just used to being on their own, and it is not emotionally or psychologically healthy. And it certainly is not healthy inside of your home. And you, mom, you, dad, it is your responsibility to change this, to alter this course that is not a good one, to bring your family back on track. So you say, we're going to have a night together. And in this night, we'll play charades, we'll play Monopoly, we'll play Risk, we'll play Uno, we'll play Crazy Eights, we'll play Go Fish, depends on the age of your kids. And in that playing and being crazy, yes, there's a certain amount of noise. I grant you that. When my boys were little, we would indeed play oldies. And as I've shared with you, even now with my grandsons, we also play oldies. But you know what? There were a lot of days when I would do it with my sons when we would just do it with nothing there. It was quiet. So the only sounds were us laughing and teasing each other and goofing around. And it's a great sound. And it is a quieter atmosphere than all this racket. So it's a step in the process of helping them gain an appreciation for silence, for a lack of all that other noise, and frankly, all that other stimulation, which is not necessary and not particularly healthy. So you're helping them along the way of, okay, we can do things without the noise. Same thing at the dinner table. I really do want you to sit down and eat dinner together. It's a super big deal. There's so many studies you can look at that prove this to you. You need to sit and eat a meal at a table together without any other kind of sound going on, and you're actually having a conversation with one another. And while you're doing this, when there are breaks in the conversation, let the silence happen. When you ask a person a question, especially if they're a person who processes, it might take them 2 or 3 minutes to answer. Don't aim to fill up all that empty space with your voice because you can't handle the quiet either. Learn to calmly wait for them to speak with you. Silence is not deadly. It's really not. It's okay. You want your child to understand that when they go in their room and it's quiet and they have their own thoughts to keep them company or to trouble them or to call them to something imaginative, that is a good thing. Help them to learn not only to be reluctantly okay with that quietude, but to be excited and motivated by what happens in that quiet space. I was not good at quiet when I was younger. I came out of a household where quiet didn't even exist. I would put a book in the back of my jeans and climb up a tree, way up a tree, so people couldn't see me. And I would often intentionally wear a green shirt so that I could read in peace and quiet. I'd hear everybody yelling and calling and trying to find me, and I didn't come down because I just wanted a little quiet. So I think my soul has always wanted that quiet. But once I was an adult, I didn't know much about it. I created a lot of my own chaos and drama for quite a few years. But when I finally got to the place where I could understand and appreciate quiet, now I can't hardly stand to give it up for anything. You want to foster in your child the concept, nurture in them a desire for some quiet and the peace of spirit and the great things that go on in the mind in that space of quietude. So I'm inviting you today to help your child grasp the idea that quiet is good, quiet is productive, quiet is healthy. My challenge question for you today is, how are you at being quiet? Because if you don't have any quiet, it's really hard to explain the value of it or to foster that in your child. So how are you at being quiet? Even if you're really terrible, put it on a scale of 1 to 10. Slap awful at 1 and great at 10. Aim to get better, because all of this is a journey, as you know. And when your heart can be quiet and you have peace of mind, it is something that you can help your child understand and appreciate. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to send them to me. I will look forward to seeing you again very soon on Paint a Beautiful Picture. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.